We're back.
We are back. We missed a week, kinda ish, but it's
Yeah,
all good. Shit happens.
life was just too busy.
But we're here. We're chatting, and you're probably wondering why I got stickers on my chest. We'll talk about that because I'm about to sue somebody. I might be really rich, and that's why I got stickers on my chest, and I'm gonna leave them on there.
You do not to sue nobody.
Doing.
That judge gonna look at you and look at look at this lawsuit and say, "You done wasted your money on a lawyer, sir."
With that off of Chappelle show, I'm rich, bitch. Rich. Anywho. So, what do we got going on, man? It's been an interesting week thus far. A lot of going on, a lot of things.
It has been a crazy week, crazy past 2 weeks. Like I said, life kind of got in the way with a lot of things, and so I think today we're just going to talk about a lot of different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know that we've been really up to date with the news, but we can talk about what we've been talking about on a number of these episodes. We're going to get on the stock market and the debacle that is. So if you have anyone who's following stocks and heavily into it, and they look at it every day and so on and so forth, and you've seen that they're in the worst mood they can be, it's because this. It's because this week and last week a little bit too. Um, it is, if you, I mean, I watch CNBC is the show that, or the station that I have in the background, and even the analysts on CNBC are just like, we don't know what to do. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about the reason why you have those diodes on your chest, and we're going to promote maybe another Black-owned business, since this is the last few days of Black History Month. Even though Black history should be all history, but that's it. That is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we can get to it.
All right.
Start to it.
Let's talk stocks then. It's been this is probably the first week of this year I haven't looked at my accounts. I normally will get in there a few times a day. I'm normally on Google looking up stuff. We got a group chat. I'm always looking at, okay, let's see what Al or see what anybody but you, but is saying they're posting about. I'm going out there checking things up, setting in buy orders, and this week I just wasn't feeling it. Last week too, and it was just a what is it? I don't know. Is it a what's it when it's down? Is it bear or bull?
Bears down.
Bears down. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been a bear market the last 2 weeks. And so I couldn't tell you why. There's nothing that necessarily indicates other than, I mean, they had the snowstorm and that kind of took a number of Texas, but I don't know if the market is reacting to that. I don't know why it would, but that's the only thing that's significant that really happened over the last, couple of weeks that would, I don't know, impact that. I don't know. What do you think?
You know, um, I know that there's probably a portion of sell-off, which for those, once again, let's take a step back. We are not financial advisors, and so don't come to us if you go out there and do something stupid. But I think a bit of it is a sell-off, right? And if you were smart, and if we were smart, and all those other things, we probably would have for most of our stocks, we would have stop losses put on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the majority of us probably did not have a lot of stop losses put on our different brokerage accounts and things along those lines. But so basically, a sell-off is a portion in time where a lot of your large hedge funds, your big investment companies, things along those lines will literally see all the success that we've had up until this point, and then they will take profits, which usually they have a lot of a lot of shares, which once all those shares are now back into the business, and then just the simple laws of supply and demand kind of take place. And so you have so much more supply than there is that demand because the demand left essentially, and the stocks have dropped.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for the little guy like ourselves, we're left holding the bag if you're not on top of it. But at the same time, we are young people who are not necessarily depending on this. And the great thing about the stock market is it's cyclical, so it's going to come back. This is a perfect time if you are not into the stock market currently. If you have cash on hand, this is the perfect time to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is down. There's a lot of people like myself and Eugene who are holding some stocks up because we got these. We've got positions that are just too high, and we're needing people to come back in them. Mm-hmm. So this is a really good time. I mean, it is not a recession. Let me make sure that people understand that. I think a recession has to be at least a couple months down, or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Or at least I don't think it's a recession. Yeah. And it's so this too will pass is basically what I'm trying to say. There are some stocks that are up. Her GameStop is back up to its shenanigans. There's no rhyme or reason. I did hear that there was news that was reported, but I don't think the news justified 40% gain in a day. Matter of fact, in an hour, I think it was just about. But hey, that's the wild and crazy world of the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
There have been really good pieces of news that were out. Walmart had really good earnings call, and the stock dropped. DraftKings had a good earnings call, and the stock rose. So you just never know what's kind of going on with with stocks and how they're going to react. And even now, I think with the influx of new retail, and retail meaning Eugene and I, and probably the majority of people who listen to this, investors, we're with more people coming in, it's easier to be swayed when we all kind of come together, which is kind of the Reddit phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a lot of sell off. These hedge funds will come back once the price drops down to a favorable portion, and they will come back and they'll buy it up, at the lower price, drive the price back up, and then there will be people that will tag along trying to catch the wave essentially, and we'll be back to our old shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
There when it comes down to it. So,
Yeah, I didn't think about that, and it makes sense though. A lot of these hedge funds took some major L's, with this whole Reddit phenomenon and different things, and so it would only make sense that they would now start just shorting a bunch of positions, in order to, like I said, drive that price back down, take their profits, roll out, and then short everything, and then just buy it all back here in the next couple of weeks. That's what they do, and that's the good thing about. And we talked about the phenomenon of GameStop before, so we won't revisit that. But the good thing about what happened with that is it exposed a lot of unsavory. It's completely legal, but unsavory business practices that are done by a lot of these corporate giants and these hedge funds, that how they essentially play with people's emotions, feelings, thoughts, businesses, emotions, feelings, all these different things in order for them to gain a profit, right? And so a lot of these companies, they lost a lot of money. A couple of them went bankrupt. And the good thing about it all, I think, is you've got eyes on it in the legislative branches. And so, how do we regulate this a little bit more? Because here's the reality, right? When you talk about Democrats and Republicans and regulation and deregulation. Republicans are all for deregulation, right? They're all for just let the free market do what it does. And then you have what happened in Texas last week. So, and I learned a lot. I didn't know Texas was on its own energy grid. I didn't know Texas was essentially doing its own thing. And for a while it worked for Texas, right? People in Texas enjoyed low energy costs. People, the businesses made money, they had to compete, it was an open market, it was everything of what they are trying to do with healthcare and a lot of different industries is, well, just deregulate it, let the market decide. And then what happens is when you have a natural disaster or you have a problem where people are suffering on things outside their control, businesses are going to operate how they operate. And so, on the humanitarian side of me is like, yo, that's fucked up that you got these people sitting out here with $20,000, $100,000 electricity bills. And then the other part of me is like, well, shit, you knew what you were getting into. You signed up for a free market energy economy that said, hey, you know what? You pay what the demand is. And as long as demand is supply is over demand, then you're going to pay a low rate. But once that changes, we're going to cap you at $9,000 a kilowatt hour. That sucks. But who are you, like, and they're talking about suing and getting all these people, but this is what you signed up for. This is what they're blaming the Green New Deal, which hasn't even been voted on. And so they're just finding some way to blame AOC up in New York about what issues they got. I don't get it. You got your senator running off to Cancun, going the irony of going to put his family in a better place because where he was at wasn't working out. That's just the irony of that.
To go to a place where he doesn't want the people to come over.
Yeah.
To go and hang out with them because they got warm air and pina coladas.
I can't, like, how stupid could you be? Regardless of, I get it. There's physically nothing he could have done. I get that part. But just the optics alone, like, why would you think that would be okay? Oh, the rest of my state, my whole state's in turmoil. Let me go ahead and go to Cancun because my daughters, they decided that school's out. Let's go do some shit. What kind of white privilege bullshit is that? I mean, who else? I mean, regardless of the money aspect of it, I can't just, you know what? I'll just go and take a week off and go to Cancun this week because my kids aren't in school. Come on now. Like,
do the baby out with the bathtub. That's exactly what he did.
But he's
like, oh, y'all not good? Y'all straight?
You said what now?
He said, y'all straight? That's what he's like, y'all straight? All right.
Yeah. And then had the audacity to come back passing out bottles of water like he's doing some shit. Like, let me go ahead and get in front of this camera and pass out some water because these fools are about to be on my ass. Come on, man. Like, let's be realistic. So,
bro, now, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot all about that. Well, I shouldn't have forgotten about it, but that whole situation is crazy. And yeah, having that
part of it.
Which one?
You talking about the what happened with the energy in Texas?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did not know that, Texas, I guess a part of what, Louisiana and maybe some Oklahoma or some of the bordering states were a part of this debacle with energy. And then to have the audacity, you have created your own energy system to stay away from, so you won't be regulated by the federal government. And then blame the federal government. Like, what are you doing?
But you did it to get away from it. And then not only blame the government, blame windmills. You got goddamn windmills in South Pole, North Pole, Norway, all these cold ass countries, and you're blaming windmills? Like, seriously? Come on now.
Yeah. See, that's the part that kills me. And you know what? I'll blame it on the windmills. And I'll blame it on the solar panels. I'll blame it on all those things. But what I will not blame it on, what I will blame it on, sorry, I'm gonna take that step back and go back again, is all these people that have said, okay, this is what we're wanting to do. This is, we're wanting to deregulate this, we want to deregulate that. And so all these people who are just big old Ted Cruz fans and whoever their other senators and representatives are, the purpose of regulating certain things is to make sure things get done. You said, so basically all these people said, oh man, we'll never have, near zero weather. I mean, it's the Titanic effect, essentially, right? We'll never crash. This thing will never fail until it does, right? It's good until it's not, and so you don't have things winterized, you know. And I mean, it was the craziest thing just looking at people's comments, because people are like, you're not going through anything that other states don't go through on a daily basis. People in Chicago have that weeks and months at a time and don't lose, the first no, the first light bulb doesn't even flicker, right? People in Baltimore, people in New York, Maine, all the northern states, Minnesota. But you chose to give it to a company, and you don't hold them accountable for anything. So they took the cheap route. It's much easier to just go ahead and charge you up for whatever you need to be charged for, hold that money instead of properly being prepared for inclement weather.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get out of this mindset that everything that the government does to regulate things is just naturally bad.
Yeah.
Are there some things that the government should keep their hands out of? Yes. Me personally, I'm much more of keep the government out of my house than out of the businesses. That's just me personally. I don't care what you do at your house as long as it's not illegal, not violent towards someone else, all those things. So,
Can you imagine just think? So if we had this much trouble when we had a problem with energy, can you imagine if we had a fully deregulated healthcare system and was fully based off of the open market and COVID hit? Like, could you imagine that? And now you probably be in a situation where you're just selling. Now you're selling off your ER beds or your ventilators, and like, well, you know what? People with the highest money, with the most money, get the treatment. And that's just kind of what.
yeah, but we saw that, right? We saw that when, so take a couple steps back and remember when we were talking about COVID and then PPE, right? And all these companies were saying, okay, New York, yeah, we're going to send you, X amount of boxes. And then they call New York back in 2 or 3 hours and says, oh, Nebraska said they're going to pay more for it. So we're going to cancel your order, or we're going to cut your order to send it down to Nebraska, and it was just a big ordeal, and what people have to understand is the market is not kind. The market is not naturally kind. It is not looking out for you. It does not care about you as a person. And that's the issue that I've always had with just a 100% market-based economy. There has to be safety nets, in my opinion. There has to be something that is going to keep, them from just really just kind of screwing over people, because that's the way it happens, right? I mean, for the most part, the only thing that really, I guess, market economists, I guess, are in favor of is, preventing monopolies. Outside of that, I mean, it's every man for themselves, and that's crazy when it really comes down to it, because all that means is I need to have one other person who can do what I do. After that, I can choke everybody else out, and that's just really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So, it's a concern with, if things become deregulated, and we have to understand that, healthcare is one of those things where it's nerve wracking to think that that people want it to be deregulated
Yeah.
and not, because basically it's going to come down to now, insurance companies are going to say, well, we'll only cover, X, Y, and Z, and not all these other things because it's cost effective for us to do this,
Yeah.
and we can sell it to you cheaper. But then the people who decide to go with the other stuff now are going to, make a killing because they're going to they'll cover more, but they're going to charge you a lot more because there's no other alternative.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. It's going to be crazy. I'm glad that the government is involved. I would say if they were not involved, we would be paying for tests. We would be, I remember when they were talking to all these different manufacturers of the vaccine, and some of them said, "Yeah, we're out to make a profit," and some of them said, "We're out to, to help and save people," and to just, cover costs.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things that market economies, these are the trials and tribulations of market economies uh, when it really comes down to it. And it's scary, you know, to think, somebody could, I mean, like the fucking, who was it? The insulin man, the guy that, the insulin man, insulin at one point in time was $55. And then he just said, arbitrarily just said, oh no, it's going to be like 200 and some odd dollars.
Oh yeah. I remember him, and that's just kind of what it was.
Hey man, y'all need to find Bernie Sanders.
But like what I don't understand how we've gotten this far in terms of letting business dictate healthcare, right? Like how many, just think about how many people make decisions. This, you see stories all the time of single parents or people who are just barely making it. Do I feed myself or do I take my insulin? Or do I ration my insulin out or do I feed, like, you see people make these decisions based off of these healthcare costs. And I'm like I could only imagine, right? Like just even myself, a few months ago, or a month or so, I got a bill from the ER, $14,000, right? I could only imagine if I didn't have insurance and what that would look like, what I would actually have to pay, right? Or if I didn't have insurance and I'm like, well, shit, all right, I'm having these chest pains. I feel fine. It doesn't feel normal, but I'm not desperate. So maybe I'll just kind of rock with it and see what happens, right? And
Mhm.
so just think of how many people actually go through that decision making process of, do I need to go to the hospital? Is it going to be worth it? Am I going to be stuck with a bill? What if they don't find anything and I got to pay all this money? Like, it's just you know, America is the only industrialized nation that you have to make those type of decisions, where you can't just go to the doctor because you're not feeling well or you're sick or something's going on, that you got to worry about how much that's going to cost you, or how much is your deductible, or what's your plan limits are, or what are your out of pocket expenses, or whatever bullshit they come up with next to find out a way how to get more money out of you. Like, what does that look like, right? And
Mhm.
so, we've come into a position, and I seen it again the other day, and I hate seeing it, and I wish we could do better as a people. But I seen another GoFundMe for medical expenses in a funeral, and it's like, why are we having why is GoFundMe the new insurance policy? Why are we relying on the good nature of people's hearts to figure out how we indicate, or how do we do with healthcare? It's I was talking to one of my coworkers the other day. His wife is a nurse in Noonan, and they was this guy that they was treating. Come to find out, he had um, what's the blood cancer? It's like something mesothelioma. I don't know, something
Oh,
like.
mesothelioma or something like that.
Yeah. And so he didn't have insurance. And so um, he was able to get into some trial at Cancer Centers of America in Dallas. And all he had to do was get there. They were going to pay for everything else, all his whatever, take care of all the treatment, whatever, because he didn't have insurance. Now, had he had insurance, his insurance would have denied all of the treatment. Why? Because it was all experimental. It wasn't anything that was going to be that was tested and tried and true. They didn't want to pay for it. They wouldn't pay for any of the expenses. And so, in this case, not having insurance saved the man. But again, that goes back to here's his insurance company. Here's this man has got stage 4 blood cancer, and he's in a position to where, like, you know what, doesn't look too good for me. Just try some shit and see what happens. And here was big business was going to stand in the way of them trying some shit to see what happens. And it's just I don't know how the wealthiest, well, I know how, but I don't understand why the wealthiest country on this planet is still having to deal with some of this trivial bullshit. And it's just I don't how do question, I guess, is how do we get out of this? We're a greedy nation. Is there a way out of it? Will we ever become a nation where we say, you know what, fuck it, we're going to put the health and wellness of our people ahead of over profits or over corporate greed and profits? I don't think we'll ever get to that point.
I don't think so either. I mean, I think the closest we were ever there was probably, I'm assuming, under Roosevelt, back when he did all the New Deal stuff,
Mm-hmm.
um, but ever since then, it's been, it's kind of been chipped away at, and things along those lines. And so I don't know how we're going to get out of it. I mean, basically, the only way that any of this can be um, really remedied, in my mind, is that people will have to collectively get into their minds that, hey, this is what needs to happen, right? Um, you all have heard me say Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, Bernie Sanders, and there's a reason for that, right? Is Bernie Sanders too liberal for me? He absolutely is. But the one thing that I think he is spot on about is healthcare. The wealthiest nation should not have people scared to death about taking their insulin,
Mm-hmm.
The full dose. The wealthiest nation in the world should not be one where, people are having to worry about, uh, taking their medicine or paying a light bill,
Yeah.
or paying something else, or just going through all this and then having to go through bankruptcy, which would hurt them down the road for, purchases or larger purchases that they may need. Um, it's crazy when, just over the border, people like to point at Canada, and they talk about, long wait times and all this, that, and the other. But the only people who are talking about long wait times and stuff like that are Americans, because most Canadians are like, yeah, when I get sick, I just go to the doctor,
Yeah.
and I go and and get treated, and then I go and get, I go and get my medicine, which is a quarter of the cost in some cases than what we're paying for. Now, understand this, supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
Market economy. Canada does not buy more insulin than the United States does. There's just absolutely no way, based on the amount of people who need it, the amount of money that we have in order to invest in it, from a personal standpoint and as well as a government standpoint, and we pay more than the country that is literally just above us. it, it it's a sad and it's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
And I think once we get out of our own way, we'll understand that, hey, um, this is really the best thing for us. I mean, just think about it. I mean, I will even take another step back and kind of pivot a little bit. I mean, about small business owners, because everyone's talking about small business, as we should be, because I think that's what really fuels the middle class, right? What if those people, because most of your small business owners probably don't have insurance or can't afford insurance, what if that was taken off the table? how many more small businesses can be, you know, opened, knowing that, hey, yeah, I'm probably paying a little bit more in taxes. I mean, I'm pragmatic when it comes to that. You'll
Yeah.
probably have to pay a little bit more in taxes, especially if you don't already pay for insurance now. But if you already paying for insurance now, you've probably been paying more anyways, regardless of if you've been sick or not sick. But what if you took that off the table and
Mhm.
now you could just focus on, you know, growing your business, reinvesting in your business, you know, uh, you know, looking up and trying to develop more innovations for whatever your business is. You don't have to worry about that little thing, that's looming over your head when your employees are looking at you like, hey, I need some benefits of some sort, or else I got to go someplace else.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't know, man. It's frustrating.
And we don't. And the crazy part is that even those of us who are, uh, people they're doing fine for themselves and got a job and got health care. We look at it. We keep saying, you keep hearing this argument. And to your point, oh, tax is going to go up. Tax is going to go up. Well, you're spending. The average American spends $600 a month on healthcare expenses in terms of buying insurance to their employer, whatever, what else. Like, so if your taxes go up another $1,000, $2,000 a year, you're still saving money, and it's a lot. It's a lot cheaper when everyone's collectively paying into it, opposed to when select few are paying into it, right? But then that's when the American greed comes into play, because then it's like, well, do I get to see my own doctor? Will I get a chance is my wait times going to be because I like the doctor that I like, or I like this or this? Like, and maybe just because I probably haven't lived anywhere long enough to actually have like a actual doctor that I like stuff like that doesn't bother me. I've probably had 18 different primary care positions over the last 34 years of my life. you know
Mm-hmm.
but to some people that's important. Some people and I get it. You got that person whose personality, like, they've got the bedside manner. They know you. They know all your medications and your this and that and that. I get it. But if your argument that is, my neighbor who can't afford healthcare shouldn't get it because I like my doctor, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. That's a selfish way of looking at how we go through life. And no one has ever said that you have to lose your doctor. No one ever says that you won't be able to get the healthcare that you used to. It just means we've opened up the field, which actuality, it should increase the amount of help out there, right? So you got all these hospitals that keep coming up. And if just think about if everyone had access, now you're in a position to where you're creating more jobs because you're going to need more doctors, you're going to need more nurses, you're going to need more staff, you're going to need more buildings, you're going to need all the other things. So you created that infrastructure. If you put in place to where, you want to go to school to be a doctor, bet we'll fit the bill for that. So now, if you come work in public service as a doctor for these public places or whatever, now you come out of school with no debt. Now, are you going to make the $300,000-$400,000 as you would make, you know, if you were in private practice? Probably not, but you don't need to, right? Because you don't have $200,000 in student loans. Now you don't have any student loans, and you can go out there and make $150,000 a year and live extremely fucking comfortable, um, without the debt hanging over your head. And I'm sure a lot of doctors, or you take away some of that all that insurance that they have to pay, right? So and then not only that, you open yourself up to giving opportunities. When you do it that route, you open yourself up to giving opportunities to people who are bright enough and intelligent enough and have the skill set and the mindset to be a doctor but can't afford it. They can't afford an opportunity to take the test, to get to school, to get the loans, to get the whatever, to get there. There's probably a lot of people that are, working in my warehouse, or they're driving Uber, or they're doing different things that we probably will look down on as society, that absolutely have the mindset, the skill set, the intelligence to be a doctor, but can't afford to do it. And so you open up yourself to more folks having access to it. You open yourself up to innovation. You open yourself up to people who can bring more to the table other than those who just can afford it. And it's just these. but we're so fucking greedy. And it just baffles me that as a country, we talk about American pride and American values and American everything, and we get mad when the black dude kneels at the anthem, but we don't want to. We talk about these things, or we talk about, oh, what about the veterans, but the vets, but then you got the same vet that's standing at the corner with the same sign asking for money. You roll your window up, right? So, it's we as a country will never progress until we got to get out of our own way, and that's just what it is, and that's how it's always going to be until we can figure that way out.
Hmm. I agree. I agree 110%.
So I don't know, man. It is what it is.
What do you think about this? So since we're on the topic of healthcare and kind of the government and things along those lines, I guess we can talk. And this isn't necessarily specifically for Biden, but um, you know, a part of this, a part of his agenda is increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour. What's your view on
I don't know. I struggle with this one. And I say I struggle with it because I don't know. I don't I don't I don't know if 15 is enough in some areas or is it too much in other areas. And so, I think it needs to be I know we have a federal level guideline on what that is, 725, and then states kind of adjust as needed.
that?
Um, I think we do need a higher baseline for sure. But I also think we need to, if we regulate and get rid of some other things, and maybe we can adjust that. But yeah, I don't know. 15. I don't know where this number 15 comes from. 15 in Hiram, Georgia, is going to go a lot further than 15 in New York City, or hell, even Atlanta, or even Marietta. At this point, the way the prices are going up, so everything. So, um, what I would like for them to, one, is they need to take it out the COVID bill, get all that extra shit out of there. Like, just pass a clean, you know, get money to businesses, get money to people, get money to whatever. All that other shit, get rid of it. Like, you causing to it. You're delaying stuff. Okay, I need to file my taxes, but I want to get this check first before I do. I'm gonna need you to break off this money button and stop adding all this other stuff into it. But I know I really do need them to evaluate what that looks like and how do we make this not only just make it $15 an hour, but how do we add some level of progression so we're not stuck like we are now. Minimum wage has been 725 for the last 10, 15 years, but yet Congress has voted 10 times to raise their rate, their pay. We raised the average CEO income is almost quadrupled over the last 2 years or 4 years or something like that. Like, we found a way to pay other folks, and yet we can't find a way to pay the folks that do the jobs that we've learned in COVID are essential workers, right? you
Mhm.
know the good thing is, working in warehousing, all my associates, their base pay is, average salary is like $20 an hour, but in the store they're still making minimum wage. In some places, there's some places that is a little bit higher than that, but excuse me. You go to Walmart store, your average cashier is like 822 or 922, something like that. Which they're gonna move up and change, but it's, when you think about it, you know, here are these folks, that these restaurant workers, these delivery drivers, these Walmart, Kroger, Target, all these frontline workers who sat up there with Karens and no mask, and they're sitting there trying to serve you through a plexiglass tent that they got over their register. Having to decide, is COVID or being able to provide for my family? How do I do that? And we've come to this. So when you say, so anyone who will tell you now, oh well, Walmart cashier or McDonald's fry cook or McDonald's cashier is an entry level job meant for kids. Bullshit. Because while your kids were sitting at home because of COVID and off of school, there were grown ass people who had to make the decision: do I risk my life for COVID, or do I find a way to get money and feed my children, put a roof over their head, all these other different things? They had to sacrifice, and so we can't call them some these bullshit ass jobs. So yes, we need something in place to make sure that these people are paid accordingly. McDonald's CEO pulled in like $18 million last year. If you raise the cost, I think somebody said if you raise the cost of a Big Mac by 16 cents, that would give you enough additional money in order to pay your workers $15 an hour, right? I don't know anyone who has gone to McDonald's and said, you know what, 16 more cents for a Big Mac. Shit, nah, I can't even do it, play. I'm about to go over here to get this 2 for 2 at Burger King, right? It's 16 cents, one. And two is these are luxury items in the sense that generally when you have a taste for something, if it's within your budget, you're gonna go get it regardless. I haven't eaten McDonald's in a long time, but when I do, it's always, what, I want me a chicken biscuit. Why? Because I like them. And if the price is raised by an extra 16 cents, I'm not gonna say, you know what, nah, I'm gonna go ahead and pay $20 more for a chicken biscuit at Chick-fil-A
It's
because
already more expensive.
you know but we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem for paying for things. So if it's people keep saying, oh, your price is going to go up, price is going to go up, price is going to go up. Well, that's the same thing when you make that argument of, oh, we need to make stuff in America. Well, you make stuff in America, your prices are going to go up. Why? Because it's we're not paying some child in Malaysia 20 cents a day to make your shoes. You're paying Jerome or Billy Bob or somebody else $15 an hour. Hell, even if you're paying them $7.25 an hour, you're paying the warehouse manager 6 figures. You're paying his supervisors, right at 6 figures. You're paying the taxes and everything else, all this stuff that goes in to make this warehouse and to build these shoes. So your prices are going to go up. And so we as Americans, again, here's that greed that comes in again, have got to understand if we want things to be better for this country, it's going to cost us a little bit more. That's just what it is. And the more, if it costs me an extra, $20 a day to do business, but I know that 5 other people are going to be able to add value and not suck money out of the government, then we can use that to supplement certain people now. Now, how do we, all right, so instead of saying, well, if you make $12,000 a year with 8 kids, now you can get food stamps. Well, now you can make $30,000 with 8 kids, and we'll just supplement you so that way you can continue to work, but we'll help you with your child care. We'll help you with your food. So you're not making life decisions and not going after good jobs because you can't afford health care, or you're not going after good jobs because you can't afford child care, or whatever the case may be. So I say all that to say is 15 the right number? I don't know. I think we need to have some baseline, but we also need to make sure there's a progression chart so this we don't have this happen again. And that's just what it is. What do
All
you
right.
think?
Well, I mean, I think I'm with you on, is 15 enough? $15 an hour someplace, that is it's a lot of money. In some places it's nowhere near enough. um, I feel like, and I don't know where it came from. I feel like it's just it's maybe one of those round numbers that's easily quoted. But I mean, I think I guess my little kind of short synopsis is maybe $15 is the way that we try to combat inflation. As things have, as the price of cost of goods have gone up, our income has, for the most part, been very stagnant. And that's once again just a product of our market economy when it really comes down to it, and people not demanding more money. And we have, especially here in the South, and I'm not going to say that I'm a union supporter, because I don't understand them enough to support or to to deny that they're necessary. Um, but I think that's the whole reason, to one, combat inflation. Do I believe everyone should make $15 an hour? I've struggled with that part the most, and I probably would say no. And here's my qualifier with that. I think if you're working a 48 an hour full-time job, yeah, you should be making a minimum of $15 an hour. If you're working part-time and you're knowingly working part-time, then there should be a separate minimum wage for that. Yeah, I don't think a 14-year-old, 15-year-old needs to be making $15 an hour. Needs to? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Would it be nice? Absolutely. But I mean, I already know what I would have done at 14, 15, $15 an hour. I would have just blown it, and some people would say, hey, that's great because you're putting it back into the economy. Other people would say, well, no, that's awful because you're not managing your money well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think when we get into the semantics of what, the importance of someone's job, I have had a internal struggle with that for a long time. You mentioned nobody flipping burgers or stacking fries should be making $15 an hour. Oh, really? So you're okay with someone who makes half that? Now, I mean, and let's be honest and let's be just true. If McDonald's has to pay you $15 an hour, they should go out and find someone who's worth $15 an hour. That's my whole view of this whole thing. No, I don't want someone who flips a patty, hits the floor, and they're just like, okay, whatever, man, I don't even care about this job. No, I want someone who's going to take care of my food. Make sure my fries are salted and they don't have little spit particles and all that stuff. And no, I want somebody who is good. I want somebody who's great. And I think that's where we get really a lot of things get lost in translation, right? $15 an hour. Oh, well, these kids are gonna get it. Well, if the child proves that they're worth $15 an hour, they should continue to get $15 an hour. But I know plenty of adult workers who are not worth $15 an hour, and those people are going to have to really look inside themselves to say, okay, am I going to come into this job and do what I need to do in order to make this money? From the other side, retailers. I mean, me being on that side, I've hired people. I have tried my best in many cases to combat. Georgia has the same minimum wage as the federal government, so there's no addition, and it is disheartening to see a grown person come in, work for $8.50 an hour, and their son could go over to another place, another retailer, and make $9 an hour. Mm-hmm. That's a tough pill to swallow. And I don't think I don't think we should discount work just because we deem it undesirable. That's just what it is. I also look at it from what about restaurants and different places like that? Well, if you're making $15 an hour, I'm not tipping anymore. I just want you to know that. I'm going.
That's how it should be.
Right.
$2 more and then pay them a living wage.
Right. And so that's, it's most definitely a European concept, right? I mean, you go to Italy, you go to France and all these other places, these people are working. Yeah. And very rarely do you see, or at least from the couple of times, and I'm not a world traveler, so you've been out more than I have, so you can tell me differently. But I don't see a lot of people out there saying, oh yeah, I do this, and then now I've got to work, an additional 8 hours, working 16 and 17-hour days just to put food on the table. I don't see that, So that's it's been an internal struggle for me, this whole thing with the minimum wage. Once again, you know, if I was a legislator, if you're working 40 hours, $15 an hour needs to be the minimum wage. If you're working less than that, then let's have a separate one. And I think it still should be more than 725. But what that number looks like is the question. And don't and let's and let me make one more point. Retailers are smart in the aspect of when I was in retail, they did not want me to hire full time people. Why? Because if someone is full time, then I have to pay benefits, I have to pay their insurance, I have to do all these other things. So they would want me to hire someone and work them just about 31 and a half hours.
That's it. That's the magic number.
31 and a half hours. So you're working 31 and a half hours. I can spread that over a week. You can't go out and interview for another job if I'm spreading that out over a week. You know, and this is what corporations are telling you, and this is what corporations are telling you and saying, $15 an hour is awful. Well, you're already screwing people over by not wanting to pay benefits and everything like that, anyways. You know, and you know, it's it's a crazy thing, and it's a dangerous thing, and we will start to see, mark my words, in our lifetime, in my opinion, Andrew Yang will be the person that we'll turn back to and say he was the most right in on some of these issues.
Mm-hmm.
Because what do you see now? All these conservatives, especially, because they're the most just kind of blind to the fact, right? Oh well, look at all the checkout counters, the self checkout counters over at Walmart now. That's a result of $15 an hour. No, it's not. That's a result of innovation. That's a result of what was going to happen regardless. If you were going to make 15, 20, 10, 9, 8, 6, whatever, they were going to do that regardless. And you know, so yeah, there's going to be a day of reckoning where every job is going to have to be skilled to a point.
Yep.
You know, and I don't know that we're prepared for that conversation right now.
But it's the reality, right? It's the reality of our economy. We're going to go to, like you said, to a place to where we're either going to depend on service or skilled labor. All of this retail labor is going to go away. Why? Because all of your retail is going to go straight to these gig delivery driver services. I was just reading the other day about another startup company that's going to, kind of be like the Amazon delivery service, but for all these other retailers, right? So they're going to go and have their own vans and sell their routes and go pick up, because everyone wants this instant gratification, right? We've seen what happens when you depend solely on FedEx or UPS, because the barriers to entry delivery is very difficult. USPS, we people rag on it, oh, well, it's not profitable and it needs to be privatized and all this other bullshit. But look what happens, right? USPS has to deliver to every address every day. And so, of course, it's not necessarily that profitable. But if we look at private business, look at FedEx, look at UPS. Walmart is the largest retailer, and well, second largest, I guess, to Amazon now. But in terms of number of storage units, the largest retailer in this country. And UPS told us to go fuck ourselves and said, we're not going to deal with you. And FedEx said, we'll take your money, but you don't have to wait until our timeline. So here it is. I won't get too much into details, but here it is. I run a warehouse that's got 27 different cut lanes. So I've got to deliver to 27 different FedEx hubs to make it easier for them to sort my shit so they can get it out to the customer quicker. Instead of me being able to say, you know what, I'm going to concentrate my labor and be able to work more efficiently and send it to 5 hubs and y'all sort it and then give it out. But because they know we have that, if they said no, we have no other option outside of them. That's private business for you, right? So, our smaller warehouses that deal with the smaller items said, all right, FedEx, Bet. We'll just go to USPS. Well, USPS can't say no. And so that led to a lot, and that's why USPS had a lot of delays this last Christmas. And in fact, they stopped delivering mail at some points in certain places because they had so many packages. Why? Because a lot of companies said, you know what, we'll just rely on you because you can't say no. And that's what happens when you, again, back to this whole deregulation, trying to let the free market economy decide itself. We're allowing these companies to kind of just do on their own. So that's why you have innovation. So you're going to have your Amazon says, all right, we're really great at delivering our stuff. We're going to start throwing some other people's packages on our trucks too. And then you're going to have other smaller companies going to say, you know what? Maybe we'll just start picking up packages for other people and we'll deliver their stuff. You got DoorDash, who has partnered with Walmart, which I get it. Financially doesn't make sense, but I'll take it for now. That'll deliver your stuff in 2 hours, right? And they also do. So I didn't know. I just seen this the other day. DoorDash in some areas has a pick up a drop off food, pick up a ride situation where you can, if you're at a restaurant or near a restaurant, someone needs a ride to somewhere where you're about to go deliver food, you can go deliver them and the food too. It's yeah, I guess it's their way of trying to add more value. I can listen here. As a DoorDash driver, I'm not about to go. I want one reason I'm doing it because I don't have to have people in my car like I used to do when I drove Uber. But two, I'm not gonna have some random dude while I got somebody else's random food in my car trying to take them. Like, no, we're not doing all
Fries and stuff like that. Yeah.
that. Not happening. But I say that to say is what is that's innovation, right? And to your point, the self checkouts aren't as a in relation to the rising cost of labor in America. No, it's innovation. It's okay. You know what? It cost us X amount, or it takes up. Look at the amount of retail space, right? So if you look at a self checkout, you can get what maybe 15 checkout locations in the same space, physical space, that you would probably take up like 2 or 3 regular ones. So stores are a fixed square footage, and every bit of that space they're using to try to sell stuff to you. Why? Because that's what they do. So if I can put 15 registers in the same place that I would put 3, why would I not try to concentrate that? I can get one person to run it opposed to 15 people to run it, and I can condense my space. It's called innovation. That's what we do as Americans. We find a way to do shit cheaper. Why?
Mm-hmm.
We're greedy. We don't want to pay more. We don't want to have the costs go up. So until we're willing to accept innovation and accept that we are a service and technical society moving forward, we won't move forward. So you either got to figure out how you're going to drive shit to places, or you're going to learn how to fix it. One of the two. A lot of these different jobs are going to go away. A lot of your manufacturing jobs are going to go away. A lot of your basic level service or retail level jobs are going to go away. So you either figure out how to work in a warehouse, figure out how to drive somebody's packages to their house, or figure out how to fix somebody's robot.
Yep.
That's just where it's at.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know, man.
It's an interesting and kind of almost scary time to be alive, right? And I want you to know, COVID is showing, is exposing a lot,
Yeah.
right? I was talking to Brandon the other day. It was like there's a lot of things that I've learned from COVID that I'm probably never going to go back to. You
Mhm.
know, I'm no longer calling someone to have my food ready. I'm going to be ordering it online because when I call in and it's wrong, that's human error, right? When I put it in and I have a digital receipt right then and there, I know my order should be right. Now if there's a person on the other end that purposely messed it up, then that's something to be said about the company.
Yeah.
But other than that, every everything is on me at that point in time. That takes costs out of the out of the retailer's hands as well. You know, uh, you know, we I mean, HBO Max and Netflix is going to make it difficult. It's going to make it very difficult to go back to the movie theaters. especially if they keep putting out the good stuff on regular TV. It can be limited time. That's fine. Put it out for just a week. We'll figure out a way to watch it. you know. And now I don't have to pay, $5 for some ice cream. I mean, from ice cream for some popcorn that really cost them 50 cents, maybe quarter, because corn is cheap. If people don't know, I don't have. I can have my own drink. I can drink if I want. And when I get done watching the movie, or maybe I don't even finish the movie, if I don't like it, I just turn it off and go someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be tough. The only thing I really miss, probably COVID times, is a little bit of traveling I used to do.
Yeah.
I do miss that. I do miss going out to restaurants. I will say that, but not all the time. I'll put it. I mean, if I wasn't planning on eating in, it's about to be DoorDashed or I'm about to pick it up. You know, and I just wonder what our children are going to think about. Like there's already like that section of millennials who have never lived without a computer, right?
Yep.
Now there's going to be a section of this Gen Z, or maybe what's the one after Gen Z? Because I think those kids are coming around about now. Uh, that will never understand how what the world was like without a computer, without mobile devices, without all this technology that just controls everything. You know, I don't know, man. What a world! What a world! What a world!
Anywho, well, I guess it's about time we wrap it up.
All
But
right,
actually, no. I do need to talk about one thing. So,
you talking about your diodes?
yeah,
Why
why I'm about to be rich and why I'm about to sue the hell out of somebody. But no. So part of the topics we talked about is men's health and so especially in the Black community. And so we both have our unique stories and how that's important to us and why um, why it's a thing, right? So, for me growing up, or at least thinking that as a Black man, I'm supposed to be strong and mighty, and I'm supposed to, having feelings or thoughts or being hurt um, is a sign of weakness. Playing football, you don't necessarily you don't necessarily be so you're not so outward of your pain, right? So I've had a number of concussions over my career or my life playing, and half the time probably wouldn't have said anything, but I'm over there dying because my head hurts or I'm dizzy or whatever the case may be. And so it's important, especially as Black men, that we listen to our bodies, right? If something don't feel right, something doesn't seem right, something is abnormal, get it checked out. But two is don't be so naive, and when I say naive, doesn't mean you become a worrywart and get all on WebMD and you got a foot pain and now you got scoliosis or some other stuff, right? But be an advocate for yourself and don't allow one of my biggest fears, especially living in a small rural county, is that if I have to go to the hospital or the ER, that they're going to treat me as if, what, this is just some random ass nigga. Let's just get him here and treat him and get him out. And I won't get the actual care that I'm probably needing or deserving of, right? And so I say all that to say, why I got these things on for a couple of reasons, or this thing on my hand, right? So a couple months ago, or about a month or so ago, I was at the gym, started having some, I wouldn't say chest pain. I think pain is probably too much for what it was. It's more just felt weird, felt uncomfortable. And so went to work, it went away, and then I was like, then it just kind of just lingered on. And then every time I made certain movements or did certain things, it would come back. And so I said, you know what? I said, at that point I had gained some weight back. So I was upwards of 290, 295, somewhere in there, maybe 300 pounds. And so, being 34, 35, I was like, you know what? This may be something more than what it needs to be. So I said, bet, I'm gonna go to the hospital and get it checked out. Went to the hospital. They did a EKG, chest x-ray, lungs looked great. Which, by the way, I didn't even read into my report the other day that during the chest X-ray, apparently my back is fucked up, and they didn't even tell me that. So I got to go get that checked out now. It was like there's no, the doctors put in there that there is no cartilage in between my vertebrae from like my last four of them. So, which explains why my back hurts all the time, but different story. And so they said, well, maybe it's GI. So I went to my primary care. They ran some more tests, had some blood some places that shouldn't be blood. So then I went to a GI doctor, and they were like, all right, well, we got to, do a scope. And so um, essentially a colonoscopy. So putting the camera up your butt. And so, my first thoughts was like, like going near my butt. That ain't happening. That's just weird, right? And then outside of the uncomfortableness of having a camera stuck up your butt, the other part of it was just straight fear. And I try not to let that show, and but I was scared out of my mind, right? I was like, one was, here was this random pains I was having. They tell me it's this. Now they tell me I took a camera in my butt. Then they were just saying, I'm just watching what's his name? Chadwick Boseman die at what, 38, 39 of colon cancer. And I'm like, that's just the first thing that's going through my mind. And I know it's extreme, but it's 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 just though it's human nature, right? You're being worried. They say the three killers of the Black community is sugar, salt, and stress. And so, here are these things that I'm sitting there thinking like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna find? Like, all right, well, I was just fine the other day, so maybe it's not that. Maybe I'll just, and honestly, and I put it in my post today. Like, as of this morning, I was scared shitless, and I was going to cancel. I was gonna be like, you know what, whatever. I'm not gonna do it. Like, I don't need it. Like, I'm good. Even though I spent the whole day yesterday shitting my brains out, clearing out my body. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. And then getting to the doctor's office, and then them having their computers down, and so I had to wait an extra like 2 hours sitting there watching people come in and out of them getting theirs, and I'm like, this is just a sign. Like, I don't need to have this happen. And so finally get back there to the back. They're like, all right, take all your clothes off from the waist down. So now I'm just sitting in this bed, ass out, um, turned over on my side. I just felt, I don't know how that's just a weird feeling in and of itself. But my heart's racing. So they got me hooked up to all these different things. They put an IV in you, and then they put like this little saline solution that clears the blood out of your vein. So then like my arm goes really cold really quick. So I can guess there's no blood in it or whatever. And then they wheel you back, and I'm still like this whole time like my heart's racing. So they hook up these little things and they hook it up to your heart. And so I'm laying there and I'm looking at the doctor, and I got a brother doctor, the anesthesiologist. He's like, oh man, yeah, I'm gonna take care of you, bro. And at first I'm like, dude, bruh.
No, no, no.
I get it, kinfolk thing. I'm like, you about to put me to sleep. Like, let's show some professional courtesy here, and let's talk like you. I know you got some serious degrees, because I know anesthesiologists are the highest paid doctors. They go through the most schooling, so I get it. Like, you the smartest nigga in the room, but let's keep this professional, right? And so, but anyway, like I said, so I'm turned over on my side. They hook me up to all my stuff. All I hear is beep, 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 beep. And it's really going as my heart rate. Like, my heart's at like 115, he said at that point. So I'm like, oh shit, okay. Well, maybe they're going to cancel it, and then I don't need to do all of this. And he was like, well, just go ahead and they put oxygen on me, which is a dope ass experience. If you hadn't had pure oxygen, that shit felt amazing. Like, it's like this cool sensation that just runs through your lungs. It was the best thing ever. It's like being a dope fiend, I guess. I don't know if that's what that would feel like. And then I see him with some little vial and some little thing, and he's like, all right, just count down from 15. And I'm like, all right, this is kind of stereotypical, but 15, 14, 13, 12. And the next thing I know, I wake up and it's done. Now, I will say, at some point, I don't think I woke up, but either it started to wear off or I was dreaming, but I did feel some sensation down there for like a half a second. So I think it was probably towards the tail end of it, and it was starting to come down, or I don't know, but it just felt weird down there for a second. But I don't really remember the details. But it was all of the procedure. It takes 25 minutes, and then as soon as they wake you back up, you're out there in 15 minutes. So it was, you're there for all of an hour, and so it's not bad. And so the good thing is, I got a clean bill of health, at least on that. I still have to go back in a couple of weeks, and they got to go put you to sleep again, and I get a camera down this side to see inside my stomach. But I say all that to say is, here it is. I probably would have been worried and adding that extra bit of stress and anxiety, thinking, well, I didn't go get it done. So, what if I do have this? And then, oh man, every time my stomach hurt, or every time this happens, that happens, this happens. So, Black men, please do not ignore your body. Okay. Do not, your body's going to tell you if something is wrong. You know what your normal feels like. You know what's going on. Don't be afraid to put that out there and advocate for yourself. My primary care doctor did not want me to have this procedure done. He told me a number of times, because I had to see him to follow up between that and then, or then and now. Well, you know what? We don't, recommend this for people under 50, and unless you got some extenuating circumstances, then it's maybe 40. And I'm like, I've got both my grandfathers died of colon cancer. My father had a polyp that was found at a certain age. I got numerous other cousins and other family members that have had colon cancer, or they found polyps. Like, it runs in the family. It's a genetic thing. It's something in my DNA. It's an hour long thing that cost me $300, and that's just what it is. And so, again, don't even though I'm glad they didn't find anything, just imagine the anxiety of not, if I wouldn't have went through it, like, oh man, all right, then what if I do have something, or what if this, or what if that, or what if this, or what if that. So, again, don't ignore things that are going on in your body. Had I not had I ignored my chest discomfort, and I just said, you know what, bump it, forget it, I'm just going to swallow it and keep it moving, then, I wouldn't have found out there was something wrong with my GI. And so, even though there's nothing wrong with my colon, they may have to do something with my stomach. So I don't know, but these are things that I wouldn't have found out if I wouldn't have discovered that. So make sure you're doing that, getting yourself checked out, doing your physicals, and keep it healthy. And eat healthy too. Stop all the sugar and salt and bullshit, because it's not good for you. Keto is life.
It tastes delicious. It tastes delicious.
Tastes
Keto
delicious.
has a lot of salt in it. Keto is a naturally salty diet.
Yeah, it is. Especially that savory butcher. Hey, we need to get like a board for them. Savory butcher bacon is the best.
Right. It is. It is. Make sure you get your green veggies, your vegetables just in general with them. And so, no, I mean, I think that's a excellent story. I think, you're spot on. Don't not. I mean, listen to your body, and we as Black people have to trust doctors, even though your doctor may have said, "Hey, we don't suggest this." You know, if there was something wrong, then hopefully you would have obviously followed up and stayed along with him, and you probably would have given him a whole bunch of "I told you so" type stuff, right?
Mhm.
You know, and so understand you do have power over what treatment you are going to have and going to get. Because I mean, I'm assuming you would have had to have a referral, and if that doctor would not have given you a referral, you probably would have just gone to another doctor to get another opinion to get a referral.
Yep.
You know, uh, I struggle with, and I mean, I'll take the 5 because I know we need to wrap up, but I will take the 5 seconds out to give my little bit of my story. And it's not necessarily me, but it's my father who we're going through this with now. My father was fairly active, able to do whatever he wanted to do prior to COVID. So this is March. It is now a month until we were kind of all pushed out and pushed back into, sheltering in place. my father had not gone to the doctor for a number of years, you know, and during the COVID times, he took it very seriously. He stayed in. I didn't get to see him much because, you know, we were sheltering in place as well. You know, with uncertainty, you know, I believe when we all first started thinking about this, it was like contagion, right? It's like, oh, if you go outside, you could just catch COVID,
Mhm.
right? And then, you know, as we started to learn more about it, then things started to kind of pan out. And what I did not see was the degeneration that had happened in my father. He lost a lot of weight. He was not as active. He was unable to do a lot of things. He kind of spoke. I mean, my dad is a talker anyway, and I could tell that his thoughts and things like that were cluttered at times. You know, he's older. You know, my father is a late boomer. He's not an early boomer. Well, would that be considered a late boomer? Is that older? So he's an older boomer. Let's put it like
Mhm.
that. And so apparently, you know, he's been having a lot of issues that, you know, no one has known anything about because one, he didn't go to the doctor. So through all this, it finally comes to head. He's at the house. He is, you know, sleeping all the time. He is, you know, extremely thin, um, very confused, so on and so forth, to the point where basically we have to call the ambulance. They are forced to take him to the hospital. He, you know, we had sent him to the doctor prior, you know, months before this particular incident because he was just kind of all out of sorts at this point. And he just up and leaves. You know, he goes to the doctor. They, you know, they check on him, so on and so forth. He up and leaves. You know, typical black paranoia, right? Doctors don't know what they're talking about. They're just out for money, so on and so forth. I mean, you're on Medicare. What do you care anyways? You know, it's not your money that's paying for all this stuff. So he gets to the point basically where he is very thin. He doesn't have his wits about him. Uh, you know, he can barely stand up, barely walk. You know, so all this happens. You know, he's now forced to go through all these things that the doctors get and is diagnosed with a rare form of cancer called multiple myeloma. Um, and if you look up multiple myeloma, and the reason that you don't see me here freaking out about it is multiple myeloma, one, it's rare. Two, it's something that can be treated and could, you know, and can be managed. You know, so now, so I mean, all this to say, you know, now here you are, you're sitting up in this bed, you're having to get blood transfusions, you know, you really can't think for yourself, you're needing 24-hour care. This is less than a year. All this has happened. You know, once again, he was going to, you know, my son's basketball games. He was, you know, able to drive around, so on and so forth. Prior to COVID, you know, no problems. Less than a year, you need 24-hour care. This is the thing that we have to understand as black men. You have got to take care of yourself. If you don't like your doctor, find another
Yep.
one. You know, and if there's something going on, you cannot wait because if had he had just done what he needed to do, annual checkups, you know, they would have said, okay, this is what you have. These are the things that we need to do in order to treat it. And he would just be the same person that he was less than, you know, 12 months ago,
Mhm.
able to go and see his granddaughter play t-ball, you know, hanging out more with you know, with his newest grandchild. But he can't even do that. I mean, to the point where I don't even know sometimes if he knows, you know, kind of who all is where and what, right? So, you know, all this to say, make sure your health is the first and most important thing. You know, the money's going to be there, cars, clothes, houses, all the worldly possession things. You know, health is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It is the thing that will take us all, and encapsulates us all. And so, take care of your health. Make sure that you are doing what you need to do, because you don't want to go down a path of it being just very late. Sometimes it's too late, or sometimes you're going to have to go through something like he's having to go through, which is a lot of treatment. People trying to figure out how you're going to really bounce back. And so that's my 2 cents. Take your health seriously. Seriously. If you're not doing annual checkups, do it. If anybody, if I have any friends that I talk to on a regular basis that are not doing annual checkups, I need to have a serious conversation with you. And you should have a serious conversation with your people as well on why you don't have just your regular checkups. Mm-hmm. All right, that's enough. We beat that horse to death.
Well, we appreciate everybody that came on, listened to us yet again. We will be back same time, same station next week.
Yep.
And we will. Oh, you know what? We got the auction coming up, so maybe we'll talk about some property and talk about some of the things that we're doing on that regard. So.
Yeah, you've been trying to be Kevin Samuels too, so we may have that too.
We gotta get. You know what? If I can convince one of these women folk that want to come in and talk, I think that'll definitely add a lot more value than my high value men, because clearly high valueness is not necessarily appreciated by all. So,
all right.
Anywho, y'all have a great night, and we will chat again next week.
All right. See you next week.